So we have the first of the China vs. Japan casting going on here. We have Bob the Sesquipillion, whatever type of amphibian creature that is, versus Baofei.
Nice pronunciation. Excellent
I didn't go to
pronunciation.
Derek
Also, yeah.
Standard School for that.
Okay. Also, yeah. Hi, I'm here too, and
Yes.
Tyrnek. I basically run the Wargame bootcamp, and I'm going to provide the high-level commentary that you all watch kicks for, because that is clearly the main draw of this
Yeah,
channel.
yeah, definitely the
Anyway,
main draw of this channel. I've been playing.
anyway, so let's keep going.
We'll speed up
Let's get
this.
this 10-minute replay taken care of.
It's 10 minutes, so
All
this
right.
is. Ooh, what is this? We're gonna. Oh, that's
All right,
the
let's wait for them to finish their initial
deployments
deployment.
before
Then
we
we can
roast
then
them.
Yeah, then we can take a look at their opener and see the relative strengths and weaknesses of each. So for those who are not in the know, this is Japan versus China national.
Yeah.
So in this particular matchup, it's basically like boils down to does the Japan player know what the fuck they're doing with their super heavies?
Do
Because if
they
the answer is
micro and
no,
smoke them?
then pretty much. Because okay, pause.
Okay, what do we got here? We got a ninja and a mortar, and that's it. That's going up the middle.
And that's GSTF Rangers. We got Nanasan Shikis. Yeah. So I was speaking earlier about how basically if the Japan player knows what they're doing with their Kyumarus, they win. If they don't, they lose. And
Oh, we got
part of
we
this,
got a two
part of
stack
this,
of Qs here.
yeah,
But
and like
they
part of this can be seen with the Nanasan Shikis. They're basically the mechanized transport for Japan. But if you look very closely at them, they have one armor,
Yeah, that's
and
sad.
I don't think anyone has to tell you why one armor is shit. Um,
It's
so
an
okay, from
interesting
the
move
Japan
here
player.
with the two cargo, like the two of the
Oh no, no,
shittiest
no.
cargo trucks in the world.
Well, first of all, Japan doesn't have anything better, and second of all, this is actually a really high level outplay because the Kiyomaru has the worst gas tank of like any actual tank in the game. So much so that my nickname for the Kiyomaru Shiki is the out of gasu because it always runs out of gas when you need
Out
to
of
fucking move.
Gasu. So we got
I.e., showing side armor to a like peace rhine and like your smoke and like it runs out of ammo in the middle of like a open ass field and your mortar is out of ammo. Yeah, that is the kind of thing you need to be able to
hashtag
be
just
good at
Shiki
dealing with.
things or just top 90 things. Now
Pretty
looking
much.
over here at Balfei, we got a pretty heavy armored opening coming here.
That and it's all right. So he has ZSLs. Those are Li Jian. He has ZTZs and stuff.
Hmm.
Zoom in a bit more. I can't. Your unit label merging is kind of getting in the way. Oh, and it has more and stuff. Oh, so okay, this is a
Pretty
more
standard.
standard opening. And so if you actually go back to the Japanese opening real quick, you'll see that the Japan opener is a little bit more AA heavy. Yeah, and also
Not really. All he's
I'm talking
well,
about that particular side, going to the left,
oh
the main
yeah.
point of contention on this
Well,
map.
he's got nothing to threaten anything
Yeah,
with.
like I was about to say, getting so much like anti-helo AA is a bit of an odd choice because China is not exactly a helicopter-centric nation. Especially since you have a ninja, which can pretty much shut down most anything that China tries to bring onto the field. Like the biggest threats that China have are the TY-90, aka the Tie Fighter,
Yeah.
and I guess the HJ-8 ATGM helicopter. But even that's not
This is some
especially
seasoned
threatening.
ranked play here. This guy's quite used to cheese as he's opening with two command units.
First lieutenant, so can you blame him?
No, I cannot.
All right, so
Now these
if you go,
guys, ooh,
yeah,
these WZ five
so
five
yeah, so
ones.
he's Tanka Shasho and the what looks like Jansha. And basically, I imagine what he's doing is if you pan over to the Dick Forest real quick, the Dick Forest, not that.
They're all Dick Forest.
No, look at the one in Bravo and tell me that's not a
Oh,
huge
that
penis.
does look like a rather large penis. Now I won't be able to unsee that.
I, yeah, like it's the dick penis. That's what it is. But anyway, go up more towards the tip, I guess. So I guess
Just up
the
here,
idea is
just
that
the tip.
he's probably going to put the Jansha in like the shaft of the penis,
So
like
they
right.
right in here.
Yeah, basically to prevent like any infantry sneaking up, and he's
So
probably
he's
going
gonna
to put
push
the
golf.
and he's going to put the Tankashasho in the town overlooking the approach road to Bravo. And actually, Tankashasho might actually be really good for that particular zone, simply because the short range and 16 AP means that it'll be able to really efficiently deal with like two armored transports. And since most of the best motorized vehicles in the
What
game
two
are
armor
two front
transport? I
armor,
don't think they have any in Japan.
well, Japan has the Kyotoku Shiki. Don't forget.
True. Yeah.
So, like, if you wanted to, he could potentially try to do a Kyotoku rush up into Alpha because motorized rushes. But it seems like Bob is opting for a more standard Foxtrot play. And the interesting thing to note is that like both sides have a lot of mechanized infantry. Both sides have two of the heaviest tanks that they have on offer, right? Going to that left side in Foxtrot. Um, the main thing you have to understand though is that the Chinese player, he has the worst tanks, but he has the better infantry and better like MG boxes. So basically,
Better fire speed.
depending on how this engagement plays out. Well, he also has Li Jian, but depending on how this engagement plays out, basically the Japan player needs to make heavy use of his Q Marus, or else he just gets
Oh yeah.
fucked.
If you don't use them and you don't push aggressively with them and kill shit, you're gonna be
Yeah,
useless.
yeah.
So I
So,
guess
yeah,
here we go
let's
with
keep going. But like maybe put it at 2 times speed.
the ninjas just cruising on out there. Just yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is I don't think the Chinese player has any AA.
He doesn't.
Oh, that MI1's getting sniped there.
Because like the other thing is that like Japan also doesn't have great
More China.
helicopters and stuff.
Yeah, China has terrible helicopters. Well, he gets 2 helicopters as an opener, but the ninja's now completely out of ammo.
I mean, it's like you have the ninja, which is like
Got some
good
smoke
A.
going down here.
All right. So that's a decent place for the Hachinana. And I'm actually not entirely sure what Balfei is doing with his Legion right now.
Ooh, he's got no smoke on the ZTZs. If those Qs push up now, they can start killing. Like, yeah. Oh no, he's smoking now. Okay, let's see where we're at here. We got some Lijans, Zanshis.
Yeah, Gensha spam. Okay, so let's keep watching because it's kind of hard to say who has the better positioning right now. I will say it looks like Bob has the better position, but it's not known because Bob has not yet engaged.
Oh, he side shot. He side shot the Kiyomaru.
Yeah, see, that's
bad.
one of the problems. It's like this is one of those things where like
That's bad.
a lot of times actually in like these pitched engagements, engaging with your super heavy first is actually not advantageous just because
did he stun the Kiyomaru? No, but they're both worried.
Yeah,
They're both
yeah,
worried.
you expose yourself. I think they're worried because like a bunch of transports blew up around them and like that morale damage just like splashed basically. But yeah, with the heavy tank
the Q5
and the Q5s and the
Q5
Q5s. Okay, I think one of the Q-Mars is probably dead.
No.
Oh no, close though.
Stunned and panicked though, so it's
for him,
useless.
Yeah. So a lot of times in the heavy tank engagements,
But he's pushing over here too, so he's cutting off the flank here, and they're not really doing anything over here at all.
Okay, that's a strange positioning for Nanayan Shiki-Is, like especially Nanayan Shiki-Is. Like that's just strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
usually hide them off on the side here so they kill whatever comes down.
Yeah. Makes more sense.
So he's got 2 Kiyomaru.
Okay, so he's not really using. Okay.
This Q is just sitting there.
So I guess going back to what I was saying originally about like heavy tanks are like one of your most important unit types. But in these sort of big pitch battles, it's sometimes better to let the enemy pop out his tanks first and then commit your own tanks. Because what can happen is that you pop out your own like heavy tank, and then the enemy just like pops out his units and fires at your heavy. Because usually if you commit your heavy first, that means you're firing at something that's usually lower on the totem pole than it. So you're usually shooting at like infantry or like maybe like a medium tank or something like that. And a savvy player might be able to bait this out and then like catch you in a pincer where like then he brings up his own heavy tanks and hits you down to like half health, right? And now you have to pull back or risk like
you lost that engagement. You lost that opener.
Yeah. And like if you pull and if your super is forced to retreat, that very much gives the enemy like room to advance without having to really worry about the super. I know Faust likes to keep his supers in the game as long as possible. Like he usually goes pretty balls deep with his supers. Like you see him using 3 health, 2 health supers, just to get a little more DPS on the field. But if you don't have, it's a really risky play, and it can wind up it can wind up going poorly for you, especially if you don't have good game sense and like can't really figure out like, okay, so how many shots can I take? What distance am I?
Yeah,
Like, what's
if
the
you
angle?
know
And all
armor
that stuff.
values against X unit and such like
Yeah,
that.
pretty much. Yeah.
This is something else really interesting. So he's already ticking at +2. Bob is already falling behind in this engagement. Plus, he's falling behind in overall points. So by the time Bob equalizes that, he's gonna be down.
Yeah, it's a little bad because I think Bob overinvested on the right side. It would have been better for him if he had sent like the Nana Yanshiki E's over to help in the Foxtrot push. Another thing that would have helped is that you know that central like little
Yeah,
line of forest in golf.
having something here.
Having like a Chumet in there would have been phenomenal
Yeah, for
because
those spicy side shots.
it's a really good place to put ATGMs
Honestly,
to like
Chubets are
cut
so
off
cheap
reinforcements.
too that like you just hide them in bushes and stuff, and they're gonna kill
Yeah,
things that you wouldn't normally expect them to. I
yeah.
think we're gonna see Kiyomaro go down. And he's not smoking his Kiyomaros at all. So
Well, he was, but I think he's preoccupied with it. Yeah, see, here's what I was talking about.
there
In
you
the
go.
oh, yeah,
So you lose.
that's a dead key.
Yeah, you go
Yeah.
2 ZTZs versus a panicked or a worried Kiyomaro. That's gonna be a bad time.
But
And then
this is what I'm talking about. How China basically has better like conventional units, and if you aren't able to make good use of your super heavies as Japan, you're kind of fucked.
and he loses a ninja too. So you're currently down almost 300 points on there.
Yeah, this is looking like it's almost over because at this point, Balfe has really
He's smoking.
not lost anything. He hasn't lost anything of value, while Bob is in a very bad place. At this point, Bob should really be looking into considering other options like pushing right side, for example.
2 stack of recon units going up against ZTZs.
It sounds like a panic buy, honestly, and they're Hachinanas are good. The problem is that they're not like going to deal with super heavy tanks.
Yeah, they can't
and,
touch
like,
a ZTZ.
Yeah.
The problem now is that Kyo only has 1 health, so it can't even trade with a ZTZ.
Well, it depends on how you position them, right? Like, you could potentially put the Kimaru in a place where it'd be able to shoot at enemy infantry that is advancing in the forest without necessarily exposing it too much to the ZTZ-85s, especially if you're good at like smoking off.
He's trying to repair them now, but I don't think that's going to happen at all. Balfe is on the warpath here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not looking good for Bob.
Another thing is the complete lack of... There's very little recon over here, so he can't even see what he wants to kill. And then you got the Q5D is about to... Yep, ooh. So
and this is another like... Yeah, and this is another example of just like, short arrow, not necessarily super useful, especially if you have a ninja. And this is just knowing the matchup, right? Like China, like as I said, China doesn't really have any threatening helicopters besides like the HGA, but fucking ninja will shut that down, easy peasy.
We also have, well, he pushed up a little bit, but not enough over here. So
he pretty much didn't do anything over there. So at this,
pretty much dead. Hashtag.
At this point, it might have made more sense for him to like invest in something like I hate to say this, but like F-15J, just to make sure that he can keep his guys clean. Because another thing that China has an advantage over Japan is that China has the much better ground attack tab. So Japan really needs to be able to deal with that effectively. And because most of their best A pieces are SHORAD, they kind of had to rely on their ASFs. And because of veterancy, I'm not entirely sure that the F-15J is actually better than the SC-27SK, but that's them breaks.
It's as terrible and inconsistent as you said. Okay, so we have another Q-Mar sheet.
Well, he has another Q-Mar. The only problem with that buy is that like he has a fire support base.
Nothing to tank for it, basically.
Well, he has support, but he has nothing to support. That's the problem.
Oh, it's all dead.
Yeah. It's like force multipliers mean nothing if you have no force to multiply, and that was bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nice grip.
Yeah. It's pretty much already. Oh, is that an F-15J? I think it is.
It is. So we got an F-15J out on the field, and
Yeah,
It misses its arrow and it doesn't micro.
Yeah. You don't need to keep pausing it.
It's a dead
It's
game.
not really worth. It's not really worth pausing.
Yeah, we'll just fast forward through the end here, and now we have F8, we have napalm.
F86 Kyoko. All right.
Yes. Well,
Yeah, there's a GG. Yeah.
That's definitely. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
wow. Oh my
not really
God.
much
That's
that I
pretty.
could talk about
That's
besides what I
pretty
did.
one-sided.
Yeah, yeah. It's a again. If you can't use key models properly, you lose. That's just how
No,
that's just how it works.
Lose as Japan.
And we're once again on 1 versus 1 paddy field. So
A wonderful
right.
place for suffering and.
let's just go at 2 times speed. There's no really I don't see, especially for like this part. So okay.
Deployment will bump it up to 4 times. So we got 2 CVs over here and only 1 with Finwolf.
Yeah. So like generally speaking on this map, it's like you either go 2 CVs and like you either go 2 CVs or 1 CV. And basically it's like 1 CV you're basically declaring your intent of like, okay, I'm just gonna go balls to the wall pushing. 2 CV is more like it's more like a balanced sort of style. It's like kind of like wait and see. And generally on this map, and starting with anything more than 2 CVs is like empirically a mistake, just because you're weakening your ground forces so much for so little benefit. Like after you get the +2, it doesn't really matter. So okay, we can pause here and take a look at the openers.
So on the left side, we got
right. So on the left side, we got 2 Chumats, 1 JSDF Rangers, and then a Shiki G and a gun tank. Also 2 Hachinana Shiki
that radar.
and a Hachikayu Shiki. So this is what I would argue that this is an overinvestment to alpha from the Japanese player.
Yeah, you only need 1 Chumat to send a message over here of don't.
Yeah, you need like 1 Chumat, 1 Rangers, and maybe like a Hachikayu Shiki, and like the autocannon can double as like light anti-helicopter in a pinch. You don't really need the Shiki G, and you don't really need a gun tank because like those units, they will not be able to withstand like a complete dedicated motorized push, and if the enemy doesn't push there, then you've basically wasted
what we see here is
like nearly 150 points. Yeah,
there's no Kiyomaros on the field at all.
Yeah. Hover over the Hachikayu Shikis real quick. The Hachikayu Shiki, not the Hachinana Shiki.
They're all the same.
Hover over the Humvees real quick.
So I got JDSF Rangers in there.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe this was mech, but no, this is just silliness.
This is just...
Okay, all right.
In China,
we haven't finished. We're not done with the Japan opener though. We didn't note it. Did he take a mortar?
No, there's no mortar or anything in here.
Okay, and he has a fob too. That's ambitious. All right, so okay. It looks like he's just opening. It looks like he's just trying to open with what looks like special forces and like Hachikayu Shikis. I think that's a mistake. I don't think that like Hachikayu, it is the best IFE Japan gets, but that's not saying much because like the only IFE Japan gets besides the
you don't have a choice.
Yeah, you don't. And honestly, I think the Kiroku is like a lot better. So the Hachikayu, it's like just a worse.
The geomats are depressing too.
The geomat is slow. If you took out the geomat, it would actually be somewhat decent because
if you took out the geomat and dropped it by 5 points, it would.
Yeah, it's basically an STRF clone, which is fine. But it has the shitty geomat, 17 AP, 40% accuracy, something like.
By the time you shoot and wait for it to get to the super heavy, it's gonna crush you. The super heavy.
Wait, what is the range? Is it 2450 or 2625?
I think it's 2625.
You can hit the information key to find out.
Oh, yeah, we're looking at 2625. That is.
Oh, and 45% accuracy. So I misspoke, but it's still not superb. Like it's mainly used for the gun.
Yeah.
Okay. And so for China, we have what looks to be a more
typical
standard opening.
Well,
we have
AA though. He's got.
Actually, I may have misspoke. That seems to be a bit of an overinvestment in AA.
That's a lot of mortars.
Okay, this is the 2A. Oh, so he has a medium tank. So this is and a WZ-550. Okay, that's odd. So it seems like he's trying to go defensive into the right side.
So I think he's going to push Bravo here, and he's going to.
It looks like it. Although honestly, he is kind of pushing up the wrong road if he wants to do a Bravo push. You don't want to drive up the central road because it's just a big open area, and like you'll eventually get picked off by a bunch of shit. Yeah, you want to do that so you can lose your entire
Smoke the shit
motorized
out of
opening to an MI8 KT, because that's the meta.
Throw it a little shade there.
What are you talking about? I only speak the truth. But anyway, let's get going. Another thing, let's see. Finwolf is a corporal. Okay, so another thing that a lot of I see, like a lot of you can just hit the play button. God damn it, you don't have to pause while I'm talking
I'm
about
just
this
gonna
stuff.
tease you with turning it off and on again.
Oh my god. Anyway, a lot of a big mistake is that sometimes newer players they get
What the?
for EJ.
Oh god. Just wait. You thought the F-15J was bad, but wait,
I need
there's
a
more.
moment. I need a moment.
Do you need to go make a mixed drink?
Excuse me for myself. Yeah, I need to mix bleach with some Everclear. It's the only way to be sure. Actually, not Everclear. Fuck it. I'll just get some ethanol from a fucking chemical supply store. Jesus Christ.
It's a paint thinner. And you took the Mitsubishi CB, which is the crappier one too.
Yeah.
The
Why
Hayate
why
is
would
fast as
you?
shit, boy.
The Hayate is actually not that fast for the price because fuck the blue dragons. Am I right? Fuck the dragons in general. Am I right?
So we're gonna give you DLC, but not make it like DLC.
Really makes you think. So okay.
Biggest thing.
Yeah, but yeah, one thing that a lot of
Oh no!
what did he? Oh, my God. Just keep going. We need to see what happens. We need to see what happens.
Nope. Oh, it misses. Oh, he evacs.
That's remarkable.
It spooks it away.
Doesn't the AJ have like 20% ECM?
And it's bad.
Wait, he has Shioju Blunt.
Oh
fuck?
no! Oh no!
That's very strange.
They're already panicked. Oh, we got a
Big deal.
napalm opener.
So, zoom out a little bit. Okay, so this
We
is
got some cheese going here on the left. Or
this is an interesting opening. So the Japan player is actually going for the middle forest in golf. I think that's a mistake from his side.
yeah, he's gonna
but,
get. Well,
it
got a
seems to be.
stealth tank here. And he's got no
It's
recon.
working simply because Finwolf isn't really committing to the attack. Maybe he's just trying to give himself space to work with his WZ 550, which I guess is fair because
the tank is gonna crush anything coming down that road.
right.
It's gonna side shot anything coming down the road. And he still hasn't made any.
Wait,
Bravo.
did his two Hachinanas die to the WZ 550?
I believe so.
Okay, that is a thing that happened. And Legion 90. Okay, all right. So let's just keep going.
He's a man who likes barbecues.
Yeah, but if they run into the gun tank is gonna just fucking DPS them to death.
Well, it doesn't have its gun on, so it's about to
Well,
get killed by
this
WZ
is also
551s.
I guess this is true.
We got some cheeky.
Also,
recon.
did you not notice the Liaran being dropped off to the left-hand side?
Yeah, but they're not doing anything though. Like, if you're gonna be cheeky over there, you wanna get them back here and start.
Yeah, for that kind of thing, it's better to have like an MI1 recon healer for China to just watch the flank. If you're gonna have recon infantry like that, it's better to like actually try and cheese with it, I guess.
Yeah. And
Also, did you notice that the Japan player left one of his units back in base?
Oh, that I wonder.
No, I'm talking about the Humvee. I'm talking about the Humvee.
Which Humvee?
The Humvee in Delta. Are you fucking blind? It's on the +1. But to the left. Go up. Go up. At least I think he left it there.
No.
Either that or he just called it in.
I don't think it's there. Oh, we got some tactical Chumat placement going on over here.
That's a very odd place to put Shumats.
Yeah, like if you're gonna put Chumats, put them like over here so you can side
or in the fucking town, like in golf, because that town is.
Why would you?
What are you talking about?
Why would you do that?
Yeah, why would you put? Why would you put ATGMs in one of the strongest positions for ATGM on the map?
It might be able to kill
why
this
would you do that?
stealth
Why would you
tank
do
that
that?
you can't see because you don't have any recon.
Yeah, you're right. It makes too much sense.
Yeah, too much sense. Keep in mind, this is like the Special Olympics of tournaments. I was in it. That's why. I mean,
and over in Bravo, what we have here, you don't have to pause. Just play. Just hit play. Goddammit. What we have here is basically Hechikayu bullying Legion. Keep going. Just keep going. But yeah, what you saw was Nanian Shiki that advanced farther than infantry. This ended predictably. Okay, why is he pulling back the gun take? That's what I want to know. Okay,
Oh,
because
they're panicked. They're spooked. But these
yeah,
Lu
yeah.
Zendao 90s can definitely kill.
What did you just say?
Lu Zendao? Lu Zendao? I don't know.
Where's that Luch?
Oh my god, this is...
It's fucking Lu Jiandui. Get it right, you fucking pleb. Anyway,
God
yeah,
damn.
don't just.
Not the belt,
Okay, so
Dad!
all right, so yeah,
We got
H1S
Panikilo. Panikilo? It's one of my favorite.
versus yeah, Li Jian. So there's a lot to unpack. Sending Li Jian solo like that is a terrible idea
Because
because
they can't touch any armor.
yeah, because the Chinese player lost 70 points worth of a low availability infantry for basically no gain. Specialized infantry killers without some kind of like anti-tank infantry support is the best way to lose expensive infantry squads in the game. And like, for example, he had like a lot of he had like lots of Lujan Dui. So if he had waited and like pushed up the Lujan Dui first and then like moved in his Li Jian to like deal with infantry as it popped up, he would have been able to just kind of roll into the shaft of the Dick Forest. But he didn't. So what's going to happen now is like he lost 75 points worth of units, and now
He
like,
would have made his way onto the tip rather easily.
yeah, his Lujan Dui are probably going to get. They're probably going to be able to make it through the shaft a bit easy, like just because the lack of any defensive units, depending on how well the Cobra is used and the gun tank, I guess. But yeah, it's basically just threw away 2 units of Legion for nothing, which is not something you can afford to do when there's 35 points a pop. Like,
yeah, they're expensive.
To give you an example, he could have bought a medium tank for the price of calling in 2 Legion 90. Like,
and they just lose it just sitting there. And he's not pushing with them, and he's got 2 CVs coming out, so he's definitely going to. Oh
so
no!
Zoom out a bit more.
Micro the helo.
Yeah, it's too close. The helo.
It's dead. He's dead.
Black Hawk down. Broken arrow.
Yeah. Oh no! Oh, it's too little, too late.
Yeah.
We got some.
Yeah, if you find yourself in range of like infantry like MGs with like a fire support helicopter, like if it's not a hind, you really need to pull out. Okay, so let's look at what's going on there. Oh wait, actually look at the bottom of the map. Look at the bottom of the map. Ooh. Okay, so I guess he's doing the sneaky beaky thing.
Yeah.
This is why something like the OH6D on the Japan list is really useful. Like a cheap recount helo, just to like keep an eye on the flanks, right? Because just because you don't see anything doesn't mean that there isn't something there. And if the first knowledge you have of something coming around to your side is your spawn CV blowing up, then that's kind of on you, especially if you had no like base defense whatsoever. Or at least any
kind of just kind of don't notice it for 2 minutes.
Well, and you talking to me about throwing shade? Okay. All right. So okay, let's keep playing. Let's keep this pain train going.
Dumpster fire burning. Ooh, 2 Kiyomaros, which with Kutai 90 in it.
Kiyomaros.
Or Kiyoroku.
Yes, I can the English as well. So I have a feeling that and no offense to either of these players, but I feel like Finwolf is probably just going to lose those Kiyorokus like a chump.
Oh,
yeah.
How did you know?
Yeah.
So now he's gonna get +2.
So this is
or +3.
Yeah. So okay. So what's going on is what we have here is a failure of proper fire support sequencing. Proper forest finding technique with infantry and fire support is to engage with your infantry first, and then bring up your fire support to kill enemy infantry, while using your own infantry to kill enemy fire support. Basically,
that was
the way that
pretty effective napalm. Like,
pretty effective in that it didn't do anything. Like it was right on top of the Lujan Way, right? But like, notice how they haven't really been stopped from doing anything. And also, yeah, it seems like Cole is panicking a little bit. He is not picking good engagements. He's kind of just feeding his units one by one into the enemy, and just kind of letting Cole get basically gets shit for
Well,
free, and like
we got this next level strategy going on here.
I think he's just having one in reserve for like when he
Is
fully
he gonna
takes
push
control of
alpha?
the shaft. I think that's the idea. I'm not entirely sure how well it's going to work because he just still doesn't have the town where the Chumats are in. Like the whole objective to push alpha is like you need to get those
Now
towns.
he knows the lie
But
right
if you
out of
don't have
it.
those, yeah, yeah, he saw them already. He called out the H1S to deal with them already. But yeah,
Another
let's
panic
see what's
helo
going
to
on the
deal with
right side.
25 points of pretty much nothing.
Yeah,
No.
yeah,
Yeah.
looks like Finn is slowly but surely just trying to advance. And
The party's over
yeah,
here.
Cole's unit choices are really odd. Are those? Are those? Oh no, those are the Polos. Yeah, Cole's unit choices are really quite strange right now. Because okay, because basically what he's doing is he's not calling in any of the units that
He needs.
yeah, like what he's doing is he's basically just calling in what the only tanks I've seen him call in are Nanayan Shikis. The problem with Nanayan Shikis is that they have paper
No
armor.
armor?
Like,
Yeah.
their armor is even worse.
They are
than,
origami tanks.
yes, it's even worse than French armor, which is saying something. Like the real reason to
I
take
like
Nanayan
this.
Shikis at all
What we
is
got
because
here?
of the.
Chumats being pushed by Tanke Shashoi.
Oh yeah, this is a real high level gameplay we have here.
Oh no, the
But
gun
anyway,
tank's gonna stun them! What is gun tank doing?
is it? I don't think it can spot them.
It's gonna
Oh,
run
and
out of gas!
that smoke might actually be helping the fucking
Yeah, it did.
Takashasa get in. That's a good.
He's giving up his pursuit of the Lyran.
The Liaison, but yes, that. Okay, so 13 minutes into the game, and we see our first actual tank buy from the Japan player. But it looks like he is just going to drive him in range of the Lujan Dui.
Oh, are we gonna see a side shot here? Are we gonna see a side
yeah,
shot?
this is
Oh, it missed! Actually, no.
No, it hit. It just hit front armor. But because the Q-Maro has only 20 front armor, it did like 1.5 ticks damage. I don't know.
It just spooked it a little bit. Oh, the F5, the F4 is just a sponge for missiles.
Yeah. Anyway, back to my earlier point. The Nanyashiki, you take him for the gun because it has a really interesting autoloader and that like shoots really quickly and it has like a long reload. So it can be used decently as like a long-range fire support tank. The problem is that if it runs into any tank, any other tank, literally any other tank is probably going to die just because its armor is so bad. And he's kind of been picking really poor engagements with it. Like he's been driving up close range, well within like Lucian Joy launcher range, and that is like the absolute worst situation you can find yourself.
Look at the
Yes, I saw the 4 simultaneous misses on the fucking ZST, and to be fair, like it's actually like the ZST can actually tank one frontal shot from Hachikayu and still survive.
It's out of ammo.
But it doesn't matter because the Hachikayu is missing every single shot.
Got another napalm bomber. He's bombing the town. Nice. Oh, he microed them into the napalm. No, he's actually gonna push it out. The Kyumaru Shiki is very damaged though. Probably
yeah, it got hit by a JH7 strike. And yeah, so basically, Finwolf is losing units at a... No, Comrade Cole is losing units at a rate that is quite simply not sustainable for him. He threw away a lot of Nanayan Shikis, and they're like 50, 60 points a pop. Like, these are not units you can afford to just lose constantly. Especially to squads of Lujan Doi, which are like 20 points, like a third the price. This is not a situation that's sustainable. And basically what we see here is, I think Comrade Cole... Well, yes, but more specifically, what's happening is I think Comrade Cole is sort of like panicked a little too much, and he's just trying to like get units into the fight to try and delay as much as possible instead of building up in like actual counter pushing force, and then using that to like actually push them out with prejudice. Because what's happening is basically he's feeding units piecemeal into an established front line, and that's why Wolf was able to trade more effectively.
They're trickling in too. It's not like a concentrated push.
No, that's exactly it. Like, if you're gonna try and like push someone out like that, you need to like build up your units first.
Oh, looks like we have some desperation cheese coming over here.
Yeah, but it's not gonna work because like.
There's a recon units.
Yeah, he has a ZZC. I think there's like those are like the BTR 40A clones with like the little autocannons with
Yeah, they are.
70. Yeah, so like those are gonna shut down those KVs.
Ooh, they have 4 shot something down. So I should shot down a JH7.
That's unusual.
I
But
know.
yeah, it's if you look at the map real quick, you'll notice that the China player seems to have like a lot more shit on the field than the Japan player, and this is kind of what we're talking about. Like, in the long game, you really can't. Well, I mean, what do you expect, right? Like, this is kind of what I was talking about.
Oh, will he get
Like in
through?
the long
Nah.
game,
I didn't get him.
he really
Oh
didn't need
wow,
to send
and
the
he has an
SC-27
SU-20.
SK.
That's just overkill.
That's
They're
unnecessary.
already
But
dead.
stop.
He's already dead. Oh man, and so yeah, now they're getting cutting off the reinforcement route too.
Yeah, and so this is
And now the Qmar is getting surrounded, and it'll get side shot eventually.
yeah. If you pause real quick, a better place for the Kumaro. You see that little angled forest to the
This little guy?
southwest of Hotel? No. To the
Oh,
right.
over here,
The right
yeah.
one. That one, yeah.
Yeah, that's safe.
What often happens is that like if the enemy player pushes up to like the tip of the forest, what happens is oftentimes the player on the top side, the top spawn, he'll like put tanks and stuff into that little angle hedge. Like the Kumaro would be fantastic
Or a
there.
Chumash
And
by
then
this bush, or in this.
yeah, and that honestly is probably unnecessary. Considering that most of the time, the only thing that is in the like tip of the forest ever is like infantry, unless like you're completely getting pushed out. He's not at this point yet because if you notice, Finwolf actually hasn't consolidated too much. Like he doesn't have any Tankashash in like cutoff positions. He doesn't have any like medium or heavy tanks. So this position is actually somewhat tenuous. It will go down to a concerted push back with like heavy IFVs and heavy tanks. The problem is that Cole has not been able to actually build up sufficient
Yeah,
infantry
'cause
mass
it's
to
all been
push him
going to
out because
die.
yeah, because they've been kind of being fed piecemeal into AT infantry, which is AT shock infantry, which is not
We'll have one
a
more minute.
winning move. Yeah,
1 more minute. Looks. Oh,
yeah, and that's a side shot. Yeah,
that's
so
that's
this
a
is
spicy side shot.
yeah,
That's the final nail in this coffin.
yeah. At this point, basically, Cole is so far behind the
Yeah,
material
about
that
200 points.
there's very little that he can do. Yeah, like a 2-to-1 material advantage
I mean,
for Finwolf.
look at the kills too. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like in terms of kill losses, like basically at the end of the game, Finwolf had 1,000 points more worth units, 1,000 points worth of units more than Comrade Cole had on like the field, right? Like in the game in total, basically.
so he's gonna
And
push way harder.
that's a big deal. Like basically that means you've basically given the enemy 1,000 points of deployment points for free, and that is
So this is
a
myself versus Yang, and yeah, I'm playing Japan because I am a
okay.
closet weeaboo. Well, not really a closet weeaboo. I'm just a weeaboo.
Okay, all right.
We'll scoot through the deployment phase here. This is Tyrnek's gonna be even more mean now.
What the fuck is going on? 6 Nanasan Shikis? What the fuck are
Yeah,
you
bro.
doing? What the fuck are you doing?
Next level meta.
No, that's not how this works.
That's exactly how this works.
That's not how any of this works.
Look at that beautiful 2-stack of Kyomaro Shikis.
Okay. This looks so slow to me. I'm just so used to watching replays at like 10 or 5 times speed. Hmm.
Fine, we'll bump it up. We'll bump it up to 5 times speed.
Okay,
Maybe
pause.
6
Let's look at the openers.
No.
Okay, so
Openers.
okay, so for gigs, we have 2 Nanayan Shikis, Tansam, and JST for Rangers, presumably going to eat. That's weird because I guess you could try and take like the little headline in the like bottom part of Foxtrot and like just try to prevent infantry from pushing up too much. But like it's those units are just going to lose to a concerted push, like regardless of what happens.
True, but my logic with that was I will have
You
them.
have logic.
I know I have logic, believe it or not. So I was gonna abuse golf with Kumar Shikis and use them to bait in a bunch of planes.
Well, it's awkward to use tanks in that middle section for your site though, because they can get zoned out by ATGMs in the little forest there. And
ATGMs, China, big
I
think.
mean, you're correct in that statement. But also, like, another risk is side shots of JH7s, because in order to shoot at the most likely reinforcement routes, you have to show your side armor pretty much constantly.
True.
So yeah, you usually see most heavy engagements taking place in Foxtrot, just because the engagement type is better.
So yeah, he opens
for
with
them.
two ZTZs, HQ7. I mean, pretty.
So two medium tanks, some light spam, PTZ-89. I think that's honestly a mistake.
That's risky. But on the plus side, it has about as much armor as Japanese medium tanks.
I mean, yeah, like, okay, in this particular instance, the PTZ-89 is probably going to do a number versus what you have going there, just because, like, the PTZ-89, ignore the gun stats. Like, basically, a lot of people, like, look at it as, like, oh, I can use this to kill super heavies, and then, like, they keep getting them blown up because
they can't trade, and they
piece of shit
shot.
versus, yeah, it can't trade. It doesn't have stabs, so it can't like do stop and pop kind of stuff, and it's also pretty slow if I remember correctly. So like it can't even do like stop and pop kind of stuff. So basically, it's limited to being a light transport popper because it can one shot anything at max range. Like that's 3 armor, which includes most of the infantry transports in the game. Okay, so we haven't finished talking about the fucking openers yet. Jesus Christ, go back to the China opener. I already saw your fucking autistic Japan opener. God damn. Anyway, so we have a double stack of mortars that are smoking off very early. We have more spam infantry, WZs, and I think like some
Lyrens?
maybe. I guess going down the middle, and then to the right side we have just some light holding forces, which is fine. That's a decent investment in MI1. Okay, so I guess now we can start going.
It's a lot of smoke. He's giving me smoke. How nice of him.
Yeah, that's actually a really strange decision. What he just did there. You say that he gave you smoke, and that's actually 100% true. In this case, Yang's smoke is actively helping Giggs here because Giggs no longer has to smoke himself off. Also, Giggs doesn't seem to realize that one of his key Maru is detract into the open, which is nice.
I realize it. It's just chilling there. It's in the bushes.
You could have just split them up and then like individually like smoked off the detract one and then continue using the other one instead of being like a.
You're expecting Razman play here from like really like.
I'm expecting somewhat semi conscious thought from Wargame players, which is perhaps a problem. Okay, so
a shit show going on over there.
On the right side, it's kind of strange actually, because if you pause real quick and zoom in real quick on the right side, I guess. If you're going to on this side, it's usually actually better if you give up the edge of the ball sack and like just engage the enemy infantry like deeper in the forest. Especially since you don't have any like tank, often like the little hedgerow off to the right side to the right ball, like that little hedge. Go to the right.
Guy.
Yeah, that guy. If you get like a recon tank in there, it's a really good way to cut off any stuff trying to head down the road into the right side ball sack. But if you don't have anything there, it's usually better to just kind of pull back a little bit and do more like deep fighting techniques, because that way you can bring in like your Nanasan Shikis and stuff. A lot
of units with laws.
without getting popped too easily. But anyway, yeah, you can resume play.
A lot of disappointment.
But yeah, like I say, like if you notice what's going on, you basically have isolated your own units from each other. Like your Kyumarus are not in a position to help out with the left side of Foxtrot. So basically, what happened was your shit that was sent over there all died, and your Kyumarus basically did nothing. And now you're trying to reposition them, and potentially, right now, yeah, you're
that's exactly what you were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was talking about.
It would have been smarter to push up through this forest.
Exactly, and as I said, like this is the reason why you see most of the top players when they're like trying to do the standard Foxtrot push, they always like put their heavy tanks in that like little triangle forest, because just the way that the engagements are shaped, it makes it so that like you always want to have your heavy tanks. And bring up the Chuga cargoes to regas your Kimaru because fucking out of gas pieces of shit.
And then we got another one sneaking up here. Oh, guy.
Sneaking up, because a super heavy tank is the most
it's a
sneaky.
giant, like, 50.
It also looks like you're getting pushed back a bit on the right side because what happened on the right side is basically the opposite of what you're doing with your Kimaros. Like right now with your Kimaros, you have very little screening and like enough fire support, whereas on the right side it's kind of the opposite. You have basically no fire support but a ton of like screening infantry. And like the main thing is that like the core of any deck is screen plus fire support. Like the screen, it takes the hits and dies for you. The fire support is what shoots and kills stuff for you. If you take out any part of that equation, you're left with an incredibly gimped force that will die to a smaller but more well-balanced force. Like if you notice, the Shoujo Buntai are just getting absolutely torn to pieces by Jansha and like WZ551 because they have shit law and basically the autocannon is just able to bully every
13 AP,
it's able to, it has to, and trained and panicked. So basically, you're never going to hit shit. And what we're seeing here is that basically the WZ551 is able to just bully on everything you have in the ball sack, while on the right side, the Q-Maros are kind of like wasting shots on Jansha, while I guess Yang Fan is able to just call out like JH7s and stuff.
Yeah, like
yeah.
I changed a lot of things in the deck after this because
I hope you did. But anyway, yeah. So combined arms, ladies and gentlemen, that's the value of combined arms. Okay, so yeah. Taking engagements against two Kimaros with Chinese medium tanks generally tends to not work out in your favor. Especially
you're gonna have a bad time.
Like that's just true in general. It doesn't matter what medium tank you have, even if it's like the fucking M84A. Like at max range, if the Kimaros can see you, just pull back because you're not gonna win that engagement. 12 RPM, 23 AP. It's just you're just not.
That was close.
Yeah, those are some nice crits on those Kiyomaros.
I know.
Yeah,
nice crits, dude.
At this point, what you should have done? What you should have done is like split the Kiyomaros, get the damaged one back, and get the one that has more health, like still on the front line. That way, you don't pull out both of your Kiyomaros just because one is damaged. You see a lot of like higher level players, if they have like two supers on the field, they often do that kind of tank cycling, just so that they can keep up the heavy tank presence as long as they can. Just because like heavy tanks, they represent, they basically represent
another nice crit.
Yeah, nice crits. They represent an extremely high level of commitment. Like if you see a super heavy tank, that's basically a declaration of intent. Like I am going to fight here, which means that like losing your super heavies is kind of, like having your super heavies lost or neutralized to anything is kind of a bad situation. But yeah, at this point of the game, it looks like Yangfan actually has. It's still anyone's game at this point. Like Giggs hasn't actually lost any Kiyomaros, which is a big deal.
And also surprising.
Yeah, but at least at the current moment, Yangfan has a slight positional advantage.
And we lost a Kiyomaro there.
Yeah.
A double,
Yangfan has a slight positional advantage. The only problem is that he has not brought anything up to consolidate his advantage yet. So the game is still very much in the air. It's a nice little line of smoke right there. Yeah, what we have here now is a sort of similar thing where Yangfan is just kind of setting up his Lujandoi to die, basically. There's no heavy tank in the area that can provide any fire support into the forest, especially since he knows there's a Kiyomaru there. Like, these Jansha are just going to die and basically achieve nothing. And, like, they're line infantry, so it's fine. I guess the idea was to try and, like, bait out the Kiyomarus to get with the J7, which is fine. Honestly, that's not a terrible idea. The only thing is, if you had the ZTZ 85-3, like, actually being able to shoot, like, I think I think if he had brought them up, he would have been able to get a side shot on your Kiyomaros, and
Oh
like
yeah.
that's a big lost opportunity for him because
If he would have had it like right in this area,
yeah,
it
because
would have been
this
fine.
is one thing I actually see a lot, and I'm also guilty of doing so. Like a lot of times, the enemy sees when like low level players see an enemy super heavy, they're like, "Oh, this is a big deal. Like I have to send my ATGM planes to kill it." The better you get, the more that you notice that that high level players they actually try to use their own tanks to kill enemy super heavies because basically the thing about ATGM planes is like the standard
You get two of them.
30
Super
AP fire
expensive,
and forget planes. You only get really like two of them per deck, and
or
they
one
basically
probably.
represent like opportunities for you to for a super heavy kill, right? But against a competent player, it basically is accepted that like it's only a possibility. It's basically only a punishment kill.
Yeah, you have to
Which is
fuck up and
why,
not smoke
yeah,
them or
yeah,
have
which is
Boogalos.
why ATGM jets they work really well against new players or players who have shit tank micro who don't know what they're doing and like leave their tanks out in the open to get
Like
sniped.
me.
But the better you get, the more players are able to keep their own tanks alive and potentially even bait out ATGM jets. Because another thing that
This is interesting.
can happen at like higher levels is that the yeah it's 85 2A. Um, one thing that can happen is that the enemy might like purposely bait out, like offer his super heavy as bait to bring out to like bait out ATGM jets and shoot them down. And since depending on the deck, most decks only have like 2 to 4 ATGM jets. As soon as the enemy kills all of your ATGM jets, they have a lot more room to operate freely with their heavy tanks because you have no more instantaneous super heavy counters. You lost them all, which means that now you have to rely more on your tanks. Now you have to rely more on like helicopters and stuff. And these are relatively easier to deal with, especially since the if you are having to rely on like spamming ATGM jets to deal with enemy super heavies, your tank micro is likely not that good in the first place, which means that the enemy will likely be able to out micro you with his own heavies and basically close out the game that way because you will because if you lose your own super heavies to his super heavies, you basically have no more answers. And yeah, what we have here is a potentially dangerous situation for the
Yeah, if
Q-Maros,
they get a
especially if they're
side
already
shot,
dangerous.
but I actually micro them decently well.
Not really. Like in this instance, if you really wanted to try and do that, basic what you should have done is like pop the Karyumaru in and then immediately reverse after you
Yeah,
fire.
back it out.
Because just sitting there against a 20 RPM launcher, even if it's only 21 AP,
It's still gonna hurt.
it's gonna hurt. Yeah. And now one of your Kimaros has basically been neutralized. Granted, it doesn't seem like Youngfan has proper units to really capitalize on that. He seems to have lost his 85-3 to for no reason.
He
But
got side shot.
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. On the right side, this is well.
That's a
Okay,
huge
nice.
fuck up right there. I I
Yeah,
I, I didn't
yeah. That
anticipate.
was
Yeah, that was
that was
embarrassing.
that was a nice meme. But anyway, yeah. What we're seeing here is
What you were
another thing
talking
that
about
happens a
earlier
lot.
is
Yeah,
let
like
them creep
he
into your
doesn't
ball sack and then crush them.
pretty much. And like what happens on his side, I think what happened to Young Fan is that you see this oftentimes. Like a piece of terrain changes hands quite a few times. Like what happens is a lot of times what happens in like these really kind of deep foresty fights is like there's a light defensive force and then the enemy sends a heavier force and pushes them out. But the enemy like now like the enemy's forces are like depleted, they're like running low on ammo, they're damaged, and if the enemy doesn't properly consolidate, like if he doesn't repair his units, if he doesn't get on like cost effective fire support or like ATGMs and stuff to prevent an easy retake, what oftentimes happens is that the other player he built up a bunch of shit and then just pushes him completely out,
Mm-hmm.
which is exactly what we saw here. So when I said earlier there was a positional advantage for Yang Fan, that was true, but as as you may have recalled, like I said, like it's a tenuous position because he really doesn't have anything that he can consolidate with. Like he has a bunch of infantry, but he doesn't have enough fire support to really hold the position against like dedicated pushback. And now you have Hechikai Shikis, you have Nanayan Shikis, and like even like Lu Dui versus that amount of like screening infantry and the fire support, it's not really going to be able to do much, especially if it's
Yeah,
not
they'll
being
just get
micro.
panicked by the infantry and not be able to hit shit.
Yeah, and in this case, like the Hashikayus and like the Nanayan Shikis, they'll just be able to burst down the shit. And yeah, like you see panic bombers, it's really not going to be able to do much. Like, um, at this point, Yang Fan really should just try and pull out and preserve whatever units he has left because he needs to what he needs to do now is pull back and build up a counter push or just like defend. Because right now, yeah, what we see is like he's
Well,
basically just
and
feeding
I'm
units.
still ticking on him, so
Yeah,
I have,
yeah.
and that's even after I mismicroed the shit out of. I should be ticking +2 right now, but I'm not because I'm bad.
Yeah, you should have sent it to the middle forest, honestly.
Oh yeah, I definitely should have in
Yeah.
retrospect.
And another thing that Giggs needs to do is he needs to get like an ASF up pronto because
Yeah,
basically
I'm
Game Fan
getting
just
plane
air
train.
spam the shit out of
Yeah,
him.
I'm getting plane train right now, and
Yeah.
I believe I do get an F-15 here in a minute. It's just too late. I should have had one 10 minutes in the game because it's China.
Yeah.
They're gonna plane me.
Yeah, they kind of have to really,
They have no choice.
especially to deal with like the
Yeah,
Qmaros.
so I do get a.
Like if you're not expecting trains of
Yeah, there we go. There's the F-15.
J H7s, like I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, and I do get a JH-7,
Yeah.
and then I get a Hayate into the
Well, what's interesting is that like neither player really is called that much KA this game, which I guess is potentially one of the curses of like playing in the bootcamp style is that people tend to not like helicopter cheese or like plane train so much because they're mostly focused on like quote unquote conventional play. So you tend to perhaps neglect your AA net more than you
and
should.
these poor guys are just going into the
Yeah,
database.
they should not have advanced.
There's no fire support to support them. They're walking into
That and
infantry.
moving down, actually like moving down from the shaft into the like to the little like seam of the Dick Forest right there, I guess you could call it. It's always a bad idea because your friendly fire support will not be able to fire down the cliff. And basically, what happened, and also I think there's actually a little clearing when they're moving down the cliff, so you don't get any cover bonuses.
Yeah,
So
right
what happens
there.
is that any defenders at the bottom, yeah, right there, any defenders at the bottom will just shoot the shit out of your infantry, and there's
And you
nothing you
die.
can really do.
And you're dead.
Yeah,
So
and you're
he's
dead.
just getting a command unit up here to stop my.
Honestly, in his position, I think getting command unit. Well, I mean, first of all, he let you tick for too long. But getting a command unit in his position right now is a mistake because he now has he has a material disadvantage.
And still +1, and I have another command coming in here at golf. That's
Like,
basically.
and this is like another thing. Like, you see all these like panic bombers, you see all these J7 strikes. Like, they're killing stuff. Don't get me wrong, but remember, like bombing
20
strikes and stuff like
points.
that. They're force multipliers. And if you have no force to multiply, then their net contribution is basically zero, regardless of what their kill death is. Like in terms of practical effects, they really have not achieved much of anything.
And that's basically all she wrote there.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So yeah.
I traded way better. So
Well, I think basically what happened was that Giggs had a really stupid deployment, and that kind of bit him in the butt for the initial phase. But Yangfan was unable to capitalize on his superior position and kind of just got suckered into a infantry grind that, well, for one, he should have won, but two, like he kind of instead of building up like full attacks, he just allowed his units to be sent in piecemeal and like destroyed in detail.
yep.
And this is
There's
something you
no
never
fire
want.
support.
Yeah, you don't want to give the enemy that sort of opportunity because at that point you're basically just gifting him points. So yeah, Yang Fan definitely could have won that game.
Oh yeah, he could have won for
It's
sure.
just just Giggs was able to execute slightly better and just force engagements that were more favorable to him. I thought you said you weren't drunk. Jesus Christ.
It's
This,
2:30 in the
this is why
afternoon.
you don't
No
operate. This is why you don't
promises.
fucking operate replays while don't operate replays while you're drunk, kids.
no, no, I drink because of Wargame. It's the only way to make it better.
But you keep so you drink because of Wargame, but when you drink, you also tend to play Wargame. So it's like a
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy
like a
of
vicious
suffering.
cycle. The vicious cycle.
So
So okay, let's look at the open. So so we
this
have
operator.
operator operating Japan. So going into Bravo, we have Chumats. Wait a minute. Go over the cube. Wait. No, I remember this game. He was playing Japan Moto. That's right. Okay.
That sounds so
That that,
awful.
that would that would explain why this replay is 10 minutes long. So okay. Uh,
And the F-15J on the opener. God damn.
I mean, his thought process is correct. The only problem is, well, I mean, well, let's be honest. His main problem is that he's playing Japan Moto.
Yeah, I was just saying the only problem is, so be like, well, there's a plethora of problems here.
It's like,
Japan Moto eliminates the one unit that you have to abuse as Japan.
yeah, like
Gives you shitty infantry with really shitty fire
straight
support.
up, your Kiyomaru is your win condition.
Yeah, that's it.
Taking a deck without your win condition in it basically is the equivalent of forfeiture.
Because
So
standard China is a better motorized deck than Japan Moto.
this is sadly true. Um,
How many fire support transports does that are motorized that Japan
like
has?
in general,
Spoiler
like in terms of
none.
versatility, autocannons are much better than like grenade launchers because grenade launchers can really only efficiently deal with infantry. Like they're really efficient at dealing with infantry,
Oh, yeah.
but the autocannon, the WZ 551, they could just take out. They're pretty versatile, and versus a fucking moto deck, they'll be able to really efficiently take out like what few fire support units Japan Moto gets.
This. Let's watch this bloodbath. I mean, we'll go.
Like the fucking heaviest tank Japan Moto gets is the Neon Shikichi, and if you're up against fucking ZTZ 85s and like fucking like other stuff like that, you're gonna have a bad time. Actually, let's look over operators deployment real quick. So, sorry, no, sorry, not operators. Cux deployment. So if you look closely, what you notice is that he actually doesn't have any tank heavier than like 80, 85 points, and that's because he knows he's playing against a little metagame. Did you hear what I said? I think I may have laid off. So I'll just repeat. You may notice that he doesn't have anything heavier than medium tank.
Yeah.
This is a bit of metagaming on Cook's part because he knows for a fact that Japan cannot really field anything heavier than the Neneon Shikis. So he doesn't need to bring out his 85 threes. In fact, he doesn't want to because it makes them. It's like versus motorized decks. You want to like be able to burst them down, and you don't really need any high AP tanks to deal with motorized tanks.
Just tons
in
of
general,
HP.
Because like their heaviest tank is like, in this case, a light tank. You really don't need anything heavier than a medium to have tank superiority. At this point, like because Moto is very infantry heavy, it's actually a good idea to have more like medium tanks just to like be able to burst down the enemy infantry quicker. Because in general, versus Moto and like mech decks, it's a lot about infantry control and like crowd control kind of stuff. So to that end, his deployment makes a lot of sense. Like I see potentially like some Legion. I see
He
a
loves
bunch of
Legion.
WZs.
He loves
Yeah, and like some ZTQs and stuff. Like yeah, it's a sensible deployment based on the
Especially
enemy.
if you know it's going to be motorized, you're like, oh, I can just use this.
And he also has HQ7s in there, I think. He has at least one HQ7, right? Yeah, he has a clone tile. Yeah.
A clone
like,
tile?
Yeah, because like HQ Kurtile's 6HE, like really the only fire support helicopter Japan gets are the Cobras, and those are 6HE. So HQ7 is just one-shot Cobras, one-shot Ninjas. Only thing in the Japan helicopter tab they don't one-shot is the KV-107, but that's a transport, so who the fuck cares?
So let's just give this 10-minute game on the row.
Yeah.
This is gonna be bad. Oh my god, what is going on over here? Did he try to do a run through there, basically?
Yeah, and it didn't work because autocannons versus AGLs, like I said.
Ooh. And then we got over here. AGLs.
Yeah, Chumats, that's a bit of a bad choice there.
Pay respects?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, this is a blowout.
Yeah,
There's no other way.
Oh my god. then he mismicros his units going into there too.
Well, I guess he didn't expect the meta on Shiki-G's, which to be fair, I wouldn't have expected either. But in this case, I probably would have tried to smoke out my Legion just to try and preserve them. Actually, did he start with a mortar?
Yeah, this is...
Did Cuck start with a mortar?
Yeah, he did.
I don't think he did.
Yeah, there's one over
Did he?
there. Yeah, there's one over
Ah, okay. Good.
This game is just already called.
Yeah, this game, honestly, let's be honest, this game was over before it even started.
Yeah. Nani?
Omae wa mou shindeiru. Nani?
That's fitting for this. I mean, this game's... It's just mopping up.
Although in this case, it'd actually probably be more like Nijing Sula. It's like, Nani?
I mean, you're getting pushed into Charlie already. You're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the tactical recon over here.
I mean, he has bigger problems. Also, he wait.
Record scratch.
His spawn city is running away.
Record scratch. You might wonder how I got here.
Oh my gosh, this is brutal.
This is like top 10 anime betrayals here.
What does the TV do? Where the fuck is it running? Oh my god. Not that it would have worked anyway.
Is this private?
He has an HQ7 in Spy. It's not gonna work.
Is this private?
Oh, no, this is too peaceful. Oh, just real quick before the seal pumping ends. If you go up, if you see up top the ZZT-56,
yeah.
It's actually a really good spot for it.
Yeah, because the helicopter's gonna come through there if they're gonna try cheesy.
And like usually if people try to like get recon infantry or stuff in your base, they use that forest. So getting something there as like a little autocannon vehicle, it's a really good way to just like check that kind of stuff. And if it dies, then like oh, something killed that thing. I should probably start spamming like I don't know, fucking
infantry in there.
Jansha into there and like just counter whatever cheese is trying to pull.
So like there's no way he's coming back from this.
No, this is a foregone conclusion.
He's just sending it to its death in there. That's it.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah.
Press F to pay respects. So
that
what
was
to do there. Don't play Japanese motorized.
Yeah, that was a little depressing. Yeah, not much more that can be said about that game. Don't play Japan Moto.